Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. I know it hasn't been a week, but we need to talk about copper. I'm not gonna be explaining it, but I have a video that's a video of a YouTuber I like, Dan TDM. And he's explaining what is going on with copper and everything. So yes, here we go. I'm gonna play the video right now. I'm not going to say anything. I might pause it here and there and talk about things, but here we go.
With the FTC commissioner who kind of has the power to control what is going on with copper. So I'm going to explain what was mentioned in that call and then talk about some solutions. Just a disclaimer, this is all my opinion and shouldn't be taken as stone cold facts, even though it is based on a lot of evidence. Also, I'm going to add in the comment section down below timestamps of different sections just in case you want to get through the video and get to the info that you are most interested in. So go ahead and check those out. If not, watch the whole video and I will teach you about copper and what I think is going to happen. Let's do this. Also, forgive me if I'm looking at my screen. I literally have a massive document.
Sorry, it's all glitchy.
4 pages full of facts, full of info, full of stuff that I talked about in the call. And yeah, I'm probably going to be reading a lot of it, but this is everything that I typed up personally. So, on the 9th of December, I had a call with FTC Commissioner Christine and her team of lawyers and advisors. And for me, the goal of that call was to express my my opinions and my concerns about the new copper law, which is being placed on social media, which will affect YouTube and creators on this platform from the 1st of January. First of all, what is copper? A lot of you guys are still unfamiliar with it. So copper stands for the Children's Online Protection and Privacy Act. Copper isn't actually
I'm sorry, it's all glitchy.
It's just being applied to YouTube now. It was created about 20 years ago and was used for websites. So kids' websites, it's stuff like Club Penguin, Neopets, toy websites, game websites. But now it's being applied to social media, including YouTube. So this year, YouTube or Google were fined $170 million for knowingly collecting the browsing data of children who are watching YouTube and serving them personalized ads. So, for example, what this means is if you're searching for cameras, for example, or on Amazon, YouTube will know about that and then serve you ads for cameras. More likely, depending on what they were doing this for kids, which is illegal. So the FTC, or the Federal Trade Commission in the US, as part of this agreement, they said to YouTube that they have to put something in place for creators like me and you to be able to declare whether our video's audience is intended for children or not. YouTube have done this, and this is what it looks like when you upload a video, just in case you don't.
It shows that you're like.
It isn't as good as it could be, and it also.
It shows if you want to be intended for an audience.
Which is where the panic is set in for almost every creator on the platform. So why are creators panicking? Well, legal liability for this declaration now lies directly with creators rather than YouTube, and this can lead to fines to
back it up a little bit so it'll
be able to declare whether our video's audience is intended for children or not. YouTube have done this, and this is what it looks like when you upload a video. Just in case you don't know, but it isn't as good as it could be.
It's saying, is your video for video or kids or not for kids?
Incredibly unclear, which is where the panic has set in for almost every.
Sorry, I don't know how to explain this. I'm sorry.
Why are creators panicking? Well, legal liability for this declaration now lies directly with creators rather than YouTube, and this can lead to fines for up to $42,000
Stupid
per
glitching.
video. So for someone like me who has 3,000 videos, that's potentially pretty scary. So YouTube have just like handed us all of this liability just through this simple form when you upload a YouTube video, and this is why it's scary. But it's also kind of understandable because they don't want another hefty fine of hundreds of millions of dollars. However, everyone's talking about this $42,000, but this was talked about in my call with the FTC as well. That is a maximum fine. The FTC also have to take into consideration the company or the creator's ability to pay the fine and their ability to continue doing business. What this really means is that a smaller creator, for example, who only earns like $2,000 a month, can't be hit with $10,000, $42,000 fines because they can't pay it and they don't want to take creators and companies out of business. That's just not their goal. So bear that in mind when you're thinking about the $42,000. So let's move on to the phone call that I had, because I had a lot of questions. I got my lawyer and my manager on the call as well so that he could ask the questions, because YouTube's advice is to go to a lawyer, but lawyers don't really know much about this either, so it's a learning process for all of us. But before we get to that, I genuinely believe
I'm gonna pause the video right quick.
or the creator's ability to pay the fine and their
It's still messing up. I don't know.
ability to continue doing business. What this really means is that
Hold on.
only earns like $2,000 a month can't be hit with $10,000, $42,000 fines because they can't pay it and they don't want to take creators and companies out of business. That's just not their goal. So bear that in mind when you're thinking about the $42,000. So let's move on to the phone call that I had, because I had a lot of questions. I got my lawyer and my manager on the call as well so that he could ask the questions, because YouTube's advice is to go to a lawyer, but lawyers don't really know much about this either. So it's a learning process for all of us. But before we get to that, I genuinely believe that the way that YouTube has handled it so far will need to change. And what does that mean? Well, that means that almost every single creator on this platform will be
I'm gonna let y'all
affected.
play this. I'm gonna play this and be right back.
YouTube
Right back.
themselves have admitted that YouTube is the most popular website
Right back. One
kids,
minute.
and they know they have millions and millions and millions of kids watching. So even if you're like a teen channel, you are guaranteed to at least have a small group of children watching you, and they are not going to be served personalized ads anymore, which in turn is going to affect your income. Whether it's a little bit or a lot, this is going to happen. COPPA is an old law, as I mentioned at the beginning, and it's something that should have been implemented on YouTube from day one. They neglected to do this, and only now the change is happening. This is exactly the reason that they were fined, and this means that the whole everyone versus COPPA and the FTC, people trying to get COPPA revoked or changed, it's not constructive, and it's not even a legitimate argument to have, because both
Sorry, I'm back.
and YouTube
I had to check something.
have to work with the FTC to help make this old law apply correctly to our new and rapidly evolving platform. Corporations are going away. They're not just going to decide, so you know what, it doesn't apply, so we're just not going to do it anymore. It will be applied to us in some way, we just have to be ready for it. Because technically, it should be this new way, whatever it turns out to be, since day one. So that's YouTube's fault to be. Got it. So the call. This is going to be be like a bunch of notes that I got, and then I'm going to elaborate on those points, and then I'm going to get to the problem with all of this, and then a potential solution, which is the only thing I can think would be able to happen for this to be able to work. So let's start with some good news. In the words of the FTC,
Yeah, this might be a 19-minute video.
Stated many times on this call that they don't want a gotcha campaign, which is what they kept on calling it. By this they mean
It might be
they
a
don't want to
20-minute
take
or
down
something like
hundreds of
that.
thousands of creators and channels. That isn't their goal. In their words, they just want to catch the Dora the Explorers that are using malpractice and go after those guys. They're not interested in taking down hundreds of thousands of channels. If you look back at their previous takedowns and investigations, they're all big, clear-cut cases, which is very important. So that is good news. So some of this might seem out of order. It was very difficult to get it into a coherent amount because obviously I didn't record the phone call. I just had notes. This is just me elaborating on those notes. So the second thing I wanted to discuss was people saying adding swearing into your videos, and also disclaimers saying that this video is intended for ages 13 years.
This is for other YouTubers that are small too.
This doesn't work.
That's why I'm saying this is for other YouTubers to watch. If you're
and this is the same
a
for
YouTuber.
YouTube terms of service as well. So YouTube tried to say to the FTC,
I have the computer
that
connected to the
disclaimer in
TV
their
still.
TOS says YouTube account can
Yeah,
only
that's
be
why
accessed
I'm looking
or
up.
created by people that are aged 13 years or older. However, they also had people and higher ups of the company dishing out the facts.
We're back. Very rushed.
Like trade fairs and marketing
I'm gonna let it play.
conventions that YouTube was the most popular website for kids under 10. This is why we're in this mess in the first place. So the FTC were obviously like, hold on, you know that there's millions and millions of kids watching your website, but you're still collecting data on them. That's bad. So that's why they got fined in the first place. So if YouTube can't use that excuse, we cannot use that excuse either. So just putting that stuff in your description or adding a couple swear words here and there, that doesn't stop your video being aimed for kids. Mixed audience. This is extremely important because every time I see someone talking about copper, they're asking about mixed audience. So that's something that YouTube hasn't given us. So I asked the FTC commissioners about it. So I asked the FTC directly if YouTube should be giving us a mixed audience option, and they said that a mixed audience option is used to cover copper on websites and has been for ages. So mixed audience is definitely a thing that they already use and enforce. But YouTube themselves have decided not to implement that on their platform. Now, even though this doesn't look good for YouTube, this is actually extremely complicated, which is probably why they haven't implemented it in the first place. So having a mixed audience and declaring that means that you know that you still have a portion of kids watching your videos, and if you knowingly have some kids watching your videos, your content needs to be assumed as for kids, even if the majority are teens watching. However, in exactly the same phone call, probably about 20 minutes later, the FTC also said to me that if you are creating...
If you're a parent and you're watching this,
and
your kid is
13-year-olds, so teens
on my channel,
and have some
careful
kids
what you
watching,
do.
then that is not a copper
Please don't report me or
violation.
something.
So obviously, that is a blatant...
I'm just saying, don't report me, please. I don't want to...
The problem I see here for YouTube is, how would they serve ads if
Because
you
I'm
declare
swearing and all kinds of stuff.
ads
I
for a
haven't
mixed audience,
I
because that's almost
put it where
impossible
it's for kids and not for kids.
to do, right? They know that some of the viewers are going to be kids, some of them are going to be teens. They have no way of knowing which one is which, unless they implement something that I think is going to happen at the end of the video. So this is another point. Something that myself and my lawyer in particular had an issue with is that the FTC treats YouTube as the ad data collector on our behalf. So YouTube are our third-party data collection provider. So this usually works on websites if you are the owner of the website and then you want ads on it to make money, you pay someone to do that, right? But then because you're paying them directly and you have a direct contact with them, you can tell them what to do. You know what they're up to. You know what they're collecting. But the FTC have applied this logic to YouTube, but I don't agree that that works because we don't have a direct relationship with YouTube. We can't control what they do. It's not our fault that YouTube decided to collect data from kids. So that's an interesting point, which shows why, in some ways, the copper law as it stands doesn't quite perfectly apply to YouTube. I just wanted to let you guys know that's how they think of it. So YouTube is collecting data on our behalf so we can then earn money from those ads. So another thing that I found interesting is that the only thing that the FTC demanded that YouTube did after they got their fine is to give creators a way to declare whether their audience is intended for kids or not. The other downsides that YouTube have implemented, such as no notifications pushed out for videos, a different recommended section, no comments, etc., was all YouTube's decision to make. I can kind of see why they did this, as they probably want to avoid any more controversies involving children. So they had one recently with pedophiles in the comments section. They don't want to push things to kids if they don't feel like that's right anymore. So I can see why they've done it, but it's also interesting that the FTC didn't force them to do that. So another comment I've seen about all this copper stuff is that parents should be the ones responsible for what they're consuming and not the creators.
Right. I should.
And while this is true, this is only accurate if the child is using a parent's logged in Google account to view YouTube.
Yeah.
The way this works is if a child is browsing YouTube on a parent's account and they are having their information collected and their browsing data and stuff and being served personalized ads, this is actually the parent's fault or responsibility. I shouldn't say fault. It's the account user's responsibility to keep their password secure, which isn't happening if a child is using their parent's account. You haven't kept that account secure, you've left it logged in, or you've let them use your account. So that is the parent's responsibility. They're using your account. The same with any other website in the world. Oh, I'm pretty sure. So where this rule doesn't apply is where the child is using YouTube logged out. So not using an account at all. Your browsing history and your YouTube viewing history and stuff is still collected, and they still serve you videos and ads based on that. But no one can prove whether a kid is watching on a logged out account. So that's where it gets weird, and does move on to my next point, which is the main issue that I found with this whole FTC conversation. So the main issue I saw for the FTC, and kind of for us as well, is evidence. It's very clear that if the FTC were to present a case against a YouTuber that makes content similar to myself, which isn't aimed at kids, it's not aimed at adults, it's safe for everyone to watch, aka family friendly. If they were
not me,
I'm not case, there's no empirical evidence such as analytics in our dashboard that can prove to anyone the age of our audiences. There's literally no proof that me and my lawyer can think of that they could take to court to be like, yep, this is for kids. The reason that YouTube got fined is because they were openly stating this from their higher ups in their company at trade conventions and stuff. So that was their evidence. So the FTC says exactly the same as YouTube in that we know our audience is best, so we should be the ones to flag our videos for kids or not for kids or me. But maybe we do know our audience is best, but honestly maybe we don't. Not everyone gets to meet their fans out and about, and even then, that is a minuscule sample size from a channel's entire demographic. The good news from this is that because of this, the FTC aren't going to go after anyone unless it's a clear-cut case. I mentioned this earlier, but most YouTubers fall outside of the clear-cut case, so I think the majority of us are going to be okay. I do genuinely believe that, but that still leaves a problem. And what is this problem? The problem is in the current state of YouTube's For Kids declaration system, most of us aren't able to label our videos correctly or accurately due to the lack of a mixed audience option and clear guidelines. But the FTC also don't have enough actual evidence about our audiences to be able to bring a case against a mixed audience YouTuber, if that makes sense. This leaves us in a super weird limbo where a lot of us are technically declaring our videos incorrectly, but it's likely that there's going to be no actual repercussions because of it, since the FTC don't have any clear-cut evidence, and we also don't have any clear-cut evidence either to prove whether or not our videos are for kids. This is why they're only going to go after the people that are like Dora Explorers, the weird people in like Elsa suits and stuff, which is clearly for kids, like Blue's Clues, stuff like that. And if we're the ones marking our videos wrong, YouTube is still technically collecting information and serving ads to kids, which obviously they don't want. So the system that is in place at the moment doesn't work for either of us. That's why it's so awkward and no one knows what's going on. So what do we do? Honestly, I don't know, but I feel that YouTube does have a big responsibility here to change the system that they currently have for creators to correctly declare their videos. Ultimately, we could be the ones breaking the law, getting the fines, and not them.
The fine room.
Now we come on to a potential solution, which YouTube themselves need to come up with.
Yes.
As it stands at the moment, it can't work. There's too much grey area for us creators, for YouTube to serve ads, and for the FTC to even make a judgment. So all of us will be breaking the law here and risking massive fines, and I'm not prepared to do that. Apologies for the lighting change. I actually am re-recording the outro to this video with the solution that should be implemented to solve this entire copper issue, because I think I've got it, and I'm really confused as to why it hasn't been implemented already. So hear me out. So I'm going to use the example that I've been referring to for the previous sections of this video, which is Neopets, a site essentially designed for kids, but could be used by anyone. So I tried to create a new account, and when it asked for my age, I tried to put my age in as a 9-year-old, and then when I clicked next, I was taken to another screen, which then asks me to put in my parent's email account. Now the reason for this is that Neopets will then send an authorization email to the parent for them to give permission for them to use Neopets or not. So if authorized, that all goes through, the child can log in using an under 13's account, and the whole browsing experience is tailored because Neopets knows that that user is a child. And the reason that Neopets does that is because they have to comply to COPPA. So my question is, why wasn't this the solution that was suggested to YouTube by the FTC? As it stands right now, the FTC and Google, as part of their settlement for the fine, suggested that it should be us, the creators of the content that go on the website, not the people that actually collected the data from the children, that it should fall as our legal responsibility to declare whether our videos are made for kids or not. This is without us knowing anything about our audiences apart from the ages of 13 and older. Having no evidence for this, which poses an issue for us and for the FTC as well, if they decided to try and make a case against any of us, and just makes things way more complicated than it should be. I think YouTube have a lot to answer for here. Why can't they just create exactly the same model that Neopets has, which perfectly complies to COPPA by allowing people that are under 13 to create accounts? Then you can tailor the whole YouTube experience to those child accounts to not collect their browsing info, not collect their info for advertising, don't serve them personalized ads, take away the notifications, whatever you want to do. You can apply it to just those children's accounts. And then we won't even need to declare our video. Now, I will make it clear that I do have a phone call with YouTube next week, and I'll be posing this exact question to them and seeing what their answer is. Because I logically cannot think of a reason. So I am going to have a call with them next week. Unfortunately, I couldn't fit it in before this video, and then I will report back with a follow-up video as to what they said. And also, feel free to post your comments in the comment section below with questions regarding COPPA. Only regarding COPPA, nothing else, just this COPPA issue. So to conclude, every piece of information and my opinions in this video still stand. YouTube critic.
I agree with the thing he's saying. Everything he's saying, I agree.
And then everything is still in limbo. If YouTube did take this solution, which I believe is the best and fairest way to deal with COPPA, our monetization will dip slightly, because it's without a doubt that these new accounts will be created. They don't currently exist, so a portion of your viewers, whether it's large or whether it's small, will not be served personalized ads, which do serve about 10% of the earnings that you would normally get for a personalized ad. So monetization on YouTube will change, but technically it never should have been this way in the first place. It should have been COPPA compliant from the beginning. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I know this was an absolute data dump on you guys, but hopefully it is useful for you as a creator. You got some of the answers that you wanted, and I don't think anyone else has posed a solution either. Whether they take it or not, I have no idea, but that is up to them. Thank you so much for watching. It would be great if you could support this video with a like so that we can get the message out there, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.
Okay, guys, that's the end of that video. I'll let you say a few things. Like he said, yeah, They should do that stuff, like, where you have to verify with email and all. I think they should. Parents should have to do that, and it'd make the websites safer for kids like that, and that's my opinion. Don't go against, if you want to go against it, it's fine, I guess. That's what I really think, and that I think that's true, everything he has said. So, yeah, go support his video, Dan TDM, if you want, and go, if you haven't yet, subscribe, and I like two likes on this video today, and until next time, I'll see y'all in the next one, bye.